Hello there. What's going on, guys? I'm bringing to you today an Imperial anti-Superstar Destroyer fleet for Star Wars Armada. I am using Ryan Kingston's fleet builder, and I'll go ahead and put a link to this site in the description below because it's a great fleet builder. Basically, I did this for the Rebels. I kind of talked about some things that may change the game a little bit as the Superstar Destroyer comes out. And I'm going to kind of combine that into this video with also by doing a fleet build. One of the first things I'm going to talk about is Squadrons. Actually, I want to look at Squadrons first because one that kind of got nerfed not too long ago that I think is actually worth talking about. I think Major Rhymer actually might be slightly useful again now. I mean, he's always been slightly useful, at least, but I think he might have a little more use, because there are specifically some concerns about a Superstar Destroyer being equipped with Counter 1 and countering all your squadrons, and then combining that with the title that lets them reroll and callous and all of these things, which basically means a Superstar Destroyer may very well come at you with the ability to counter all of your squadrons with very, very effective dice. Well, that counter is only at distance 1. So if you can use Rhymer to make sure you're firing at, say, distance 2, but still within close range, you might find that you're not getting counterattacked by the ship in that case. And just so you're clear, what I'm talking about here is this upgrade right here. Quad laser turrets. While defending at distance 1, if the attacker's a squadron, you have counter 1. So this is, the beautiful thing is, you having counter 1. So the clear part of distinction here is that while defending at distance 1. However, Major Rhymer's ability is giving you range 1. They have to be distance 1 from him, but they can attack at close range, which is significantly farther than distance 1. That's about distance 2. To give or take a little bit. It's a little more than that, I believe, but I don't have the range ruler right in front of me right now. But this means you can potentially have squadrons attack from outside of the quad laser turrets counter range of the SSD. And another squadron that I want to talk about is that I think is going to be very, very effective against the Superstar Destroyer is right here, the Gauntlet Fighters. The Gauntlet Fighters have the Assault keyword, and this was new with the Assault, and I guess to a lesser extent the Rebels have Jinner, but I don't think that one's going to be as useful. But yes, the Gauntlet Fighter, when attacking a ship, you can spend a die with a hit, and if you do, the defender gains a raid token of your choice, and this will basically allow you to limit which commands the Superstar Destroyer can perform. I think that's going to be very important when you consider that this, the benefit of how a Superstar Destroyer works and the way that it's worded. I think these Gauntlet Fighters could be potentially really, really nasty. So if I'm doing a build, I actually like the idea of both of these together, but for this build, I'm not able to fit Major Rhymer in there, so I'm going to just do 2 Gauntlet Fighters, and they're tough enough. They can take some counter, so I'm not really worried about that. In this case, I'm willing to give it a pass, but I'm going to put a Jump Master in here so that they can attack the ship. So the squadrons are done first. Now we're going to do the ships. A little bit light on squadrons, and we're kind of hoping that we don't go up against a very TIE Fighter heavy list. If we do, then so be it, and I guess we'll have to deal with that. And hopefully the Jump Master will live long enough to get us some shots on the Superstar Destroyer. So it's time to do some ships. Speaking of Superstar Destroyer, there is still a few days left to enter to win the Superstar Destroyer giveaway, so make sure you are subscribed and leave a comment. That'll enter you into winning that. All right. So there's some other things that I think are maybe worth revisiting in this, and I'm going to talk about the Gladiator title, Insidious. I think Insidious is an amazing title for this case. That's going to potentially make a comeback. Maybe amazing isn't the best word. It's been kind of a lackluster title, especially when you consider that people are like, well, I could just take Demolisher instead, because Demolisher is always good and Insidious is only rarely good. So in this build, we're actually going to run both. So that'll be fun. We're going to run both. We're going to run 2 Gladiators. So, but yeah, one will be Insidious, and I'm going to build it out because they are both going to have ordnance experts. We're going to, and the reason, and I'm going to change a few things, but they're both going to run ordnance experts. I'll give the other one Demolisher. What I'm going to do differently here is because I expect Super Star Destroyers to take damage control as an automated. Here, let me pull up a damage control for you so you can see what I'm talking about. Damage control officer right here. This is a damage control officer. So I'm expecting most Super Star Destroyers to have a damage control officer equipped because they have 2 contains, and they're not going to want those critical hits coming in and just crippling them. Especially how bad some of the critical effects are, and it would be really bad for Super Star Destroyer. So I just don't think we can rely on crits. So what I'm going to do with these Demolishers is rely on the one thing we can rely on, and that's damage. They also have 2 braces, but other ships have 2 braces. We're used to that. We're used to ships with ECM and a bracing. So let's try to maximize our damage. Now there's a couple of ways we can do that. We could put external racks on, and that's fine. But I'm going to try something a little nasty. All right, I'm going to try expanded launchers on the Demolisher. Now it's a 13-point upgrade. Tremendously expensive upgrade. I am definitely counting on the Demolisher living more than 1 round of firing here. But I want to maximize the amount of black dice I can get. The Demolisher is usually able to, make this work. If we're coming from the side, hopefully we will, be able to get a couple of rounds of shooting and, and maximize all of this. I do expect us to be running nav. A lot of times I would put engine techs on here as well, but for points reasons, I'm not going to run that. We're going to run the 2 gladiators, and on this one, I'm not going to run expanded launchers. And I'm going to instead run probably the one upgrade that nobody has ever chosen in the history of the game, Rapid Reload. Why am I choosing Rapid Reload? Well, I'll explain. So Rapid Reload is cheaper than expanded launchers, adds the same number of dice, in theory, right? A black to the left and a black to the right. I figure if I'm running Insidious, and I want to stay in the rear of the Super Star Destroyer, I don't think I will always be, pointed directly at the rear because I'm not going to want to bump the thing. I imagine during my approach to the Super Star Destroyer, I'm going to have to curve around. When I'm curving around to get that rear shot, it's going to be my sides that are facing the Super Star Destroyer. It's going to be my sides that are facing its rear. Now, it is conceivable that I will eventually, at some point, I may also T-bone the side of the Super Star Destroyer, in which case maybe I can get double side arc and get, really take advantage of those black dice and get them from both sides. However, I think for most of my shots against the Super Star Destroyer, I will be angled such that I'm only in its rear arc, that it can't shoot me unless it's only that rear arc, and I'll probably be sideways. Just the way I envision the scenario playing out in my mind, I expect it to be sideways more than frontally facing the rear of the Super Star Destroyer. So in that scenario, Rapid Reload would work, whereas expanded launchers I might not get any dice. So I think Rapid Reload is going to work a little bit better with the Insidious title. Whereas for Demolisher, I think expanded launchers is more versatile because Demolisher can come in from multiple different angles, can have that first shot or the second shot. With demo. So I think expanded launchers is probably better here. But that's my opinion. I think that demo could also potentially just run external racks and save some points. That's also a possibility. And if you want to run something like this and change it up, you're more than welcome to. So we've got that. I want to add something else that I think is going to work well with the Mandalorian Gauntlet fighters, and that is going to be this little gem that you're very familiar with, and it's called Slicer Tools. Now, Slicer Tools is often used to counter, squadron lists, especially if you're not running many squadrons. You can stop them from doing the squadron command. That's always good, but it also shuts down any command because with the Gauntlet fighters giving raid tokens, if you're able to also slice, and especially if this is particularly effective if you go up against a build where every command is good. You don't want them to nav. Especially with Insidious, you want them to go straight the whole time, so you'll know where the back. You'll always know where the back is going to be. But at the same time, you don't want them healing. So maybe I'll just set it to concentrate fire, and or if they have no squadrons, then I'll set it to squadron every time, and that would be really, really damaging against a Super Star Destroyer. But the Mandalorian Gauntlet Fighters and the Slicer Tools are both kind of doing the same thing. They're doing command denial, and if I'm going up against the fleet where every command is good, then I can make sure that the Gauntlet Fighters put the proper raid token on there, and I have Slicer Tools set to match so that their top command matches the raid token. So completely deny them their command for that turn. So I think that's a kind of a cool combo. It's one that hasn't really been as viable to fly before, because denying one ship a command, while that's always bad, it's never been that bad. But in this case, it could be like the entire list hinges on that command resolving. So it could be completely game-breaking against a Super Star Destroyer. So I think it's worth considering. So I think it could be cool. It also makes me wonder if that was taken into consideration when the Gauntlet Fighters were being tested. I would guess they were, because they've always seemed kind of underwhelming, and it makes me wonder if maybe the Super Star Destroyer was originally meant to have come out long before the Gauntlet Fighters, and so some of the things that we've seen in the past don't necessarily add up because we didn't get the full picture. I've heard that the SSD was delayed quite a bit, so that would be really interesting if it ends up being the way. So right now we're at 236 points. We've got 3 ships. We're going to add I'm going to add some more Architons, and I'm going to add 2 Architons, each with enhanced armament. Now, Architons are always a favorite of mine, but they're not universally beloved. Right? A lot of people don't like the way they move. I think their movement is something that you can learn to do better, and I generally do really well with it. But I think it's especially going to be good against a Super Star Destroyer. For one, a Super Star Destroyer is not going to be able to come catch up to you and try to cut you off and get in front of you. Additionally, in this list, even if they're going to try to, you're going to deny them the ability of that nav. But also, Architons are going to be a little better against a Super Star Destroyer because there is the possibility that you can get that double side arc shot. So especially with enhanced armament, you're looking at 4 red dice on one side and then 4 red dice on the other side. And that is going to be a real possibility that you could pull that off. And I think that would be, especially if you can predict where the Super Star Destroyer is going to be every turn, if you are consistently doing that action denial, then that's going to be, or that command denial, that's going to be something else. We're going to add 2 of these. And they're good. They're good ships, and this brings us up to 5 ships, and we're gonna make one of them our flagship. And it's tough because any ship against a Super Star Destroyer is subject to getting just completely destroyed. But I'm going to use Vader as my commander. This does bring me up to 400 points, which doesn't exactly sound perfect for the Demolisher, but I think that's one of the risks I'm willing to take here. And you're probably saying to yourself, why are you running Vader if you also have Ordnance Experts? And I get that. And sure, we could potentially drop Ordnance Experts for a little more of an initiative bid or change something up. And if you want to do that, that's fine. But my thought process here is that I will be able to make sure that these gladiators, like the Demolisher, can go last if I wanted to without too much worry, simply because I have a lot more ships. I got 5 ships. I should be able to make sure I control who goes last against an SSD. But not only that, I want the Vader to work for the Architons, which that much makes sense. But if I have Ordnance Experts and Vader, I can really do a lot to guarantee I maximize those black dice. And I'm going to be having an awful lot of black dice rolling against the Star Destroyer. Again, we're not... the Super Star Destroyer, rather. We're not really trying to trigger critical effects. We're just trying to maximize damage. And I think there's no better commander for that than Darth Vader. And then when you combine him with those Ordnance Experts, now you can really afford to reroll black hits that aren't a double damage. And so that's kind of the idea, is, we're going to have 5 black out the side at medium range on Insidious. You know what? Let's roll 5. I got 1 double, 2 blanks, and 2 hits. Let's reroll all 4 of the non-doubles with Ordnance Experts, and let's see what we get. And then if we have to spend Vader, then we can do that. So being able to reroll twice is actually really, really good. And I'll take it. Sometimes my luck is just really that bad, and it has been with Vader. So the gladiators may not have to use Vader at all, and honestly, when they're in black dice range, they might as well spend that evade to re-roll, because what are they going to do with it otherwise? So that's the build. Let's look at objectives, because with that high of a point cost, we'll have to consider objectives. For here, I think opening salvo is a really good bet. I would, most wanted obviously sounds amazing, and I can potentially see that. It's going to give us an extra die to, when we're attacking the Super Star Destroyer. That's a good one. Obviously, we'd put it on Arcazanti. But the thing is, I don't think we're going to actually destroy the Super Star Destroyer. I don't know if we would be able to fully destroy it or not. And, there's a very good chance they could destroy the one ship. So that could end up, that's kind of a gamble. I feel like opening salvo gives me a little more, because I get to add 2 dice, especially against ships that may die the first time they're shooting, and we've got so many rerolls of dice with Vader. Honestly, most wanted or opening salvo would be good. It's a tough choice, but for now I'll go with opening salvo. Just because I think the Superstar Destroyer player probably wouldn't choose that against 5 shooty ships with lots of dice re-rolling. For yellow, I'm going to go with Planetary Ion Cannon because the base of the Superstar Destroyer is so big. I think I will probably always have that extra shot on it, and that should make things fairly easy. And for here, I'm going to go with Superior Positions for our blues for nav, and generally that's primarily because of Insidious. I'm trying very, very hard to make sure I'm getting rear shots, and with the nav command denial that I'll be administering to the Superstar Destroyer, it should be very easy for me to make sure that I'm getting those shots, and it's just it kind of fits into the whole theme. Plus, you get to see exactly where that Superstar Destroyer is going to be, so it lets you plan and deploy your gladiators and all that stuff in a more efficient way. So that's the build, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe and click that little bell for alerts. If you like, you can hop over in my Discord and say hi to us over there, or you can check out Crabbok.com, and I will see you guys later. I want to thank you all so much. Happy holidays. May the Force be with you, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.